Good evening, everybody. My name is Ian Shepard, and I'm the owner of Right Start Newcomer Services. So welcome to tonight's Settle in Canada live stream, and we've got a really great show. So tonight's session is called Settlement Success, Living an Empowered Lifestyle. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Right Start Newcomer Services conducts business in Chibuktuk, which is how you say Halifax in the Mi'kmaq language. This city is part of the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. That means that when settlers came, the Indigenous people did not surrender their territory and instead signed treaties with Europeans. As a business, we're committed to upholding these treaties as we continue to build relationships between settlers, newcomers, and Mi'kmaq people. So, as I said, tonight is an awesome show. We have a very special guest, Ifeoma Esonwune, and if I pronounce that wrong, I'm very sorry, but she'll check my pronunciation after, I'm sure. So, Ifeoma is a John Maxwell team certified coach, speaker, and trainer. She's the founder and CEO of the Network for the Empowerment of Women, Little Learner Social Association, creator, Inspired by Tales owner, Matella event concepts, and publisher WSTAR Women's Magazine. She's a multiple award winner and has been featured in multiple mainstream media in Canada. She's passionate about gender equality, diversity, and inclusion, and has spoken of these topics on several platforms, including Dalhousie University, Halifax Central Library, the Women's Sports Association, and more. Ifeoma arrived in Canada in June of 2016, and she is now a proud Canadian citizen. So she has a very impressive resume, and I'm going to bring her onto the show right now. So welcome, Ifeoma. How are you tonight?
Hi, good evening, Ian. Nice to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you for having me.
Great. So did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, you did amazing. That's better than I've heard it. So yeah, you did good.
Oh, good. Great. So
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, Ifeoma.
Wow, thank you so much for that intro. That was amazing. I'm like, okay, who are you talking about? Me?
Well, you're very impressive. You have a huge resume, and yeah. So is there anything you can add to what I've already said?
Well, not so much. I think you did justice. You kind of summed it up really well. So thank you so much for that. That was impressive. Like you said, the name is Ifeoma Esonwune, and I arrived here in Halifax. It was my first time in Canada in June with my family, June of 2016. So very soon we're going to be 5 years in Canada. Amazing how time flies, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and right after I arrived, I got into my thing, and I started the first business I started was Matella event concept. But my background is actually in event management and communications. So, yeah, I delved into event planning, and it has helped me along the way. I've been starting up Network for the Empowerment of Women, Little Learner Social Association, which is an organization that looks to engage and inspire youth in our community to keep them engaged and inspired and more focused on the things that matter than, playing around and wasting their time. So yes, they learn through fun, and we do a lot of things through that association, which I'm still the founder and president at the moment. Like you said, at times I think the hardest question to me to answer is usually to talk about myself, but I know I do a whole lot of things. Beside I've been working full time being a banker, but in my free time I try to volunteer a lot. So through volunteering, I've come to win so many awards. Been recognized in the Nova Scotian House of Assembly twice in a row for the works that I do within my community and beyond. And most recently, I received the Halifax Regional Municipality Volunteer Award for my works in the municipal. Last year, I got the most inspiring immigrants in the Maritimes
Oh, wow.
award. Yes,
Great.
for leadership in the community and in my business. And so
Well, congratulations on all of your accolades and
yeah,
awards. It's very impressive that,
thank you.
5 years isn't that long, and it seems like you've built up several businesses. You're working full time. I think you're a mother as well.
Yes,
So
mom of
you must be
three.
extremely busy. I'm very impressed with
I
what you do.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So yeah, hopefully tonight you can talk to us a little bit about, being empowered, maybe some tips about how our listeners can empower themselves, because I know it is a big challenge for newcomers coming to a new country where they don't know the systems and they don't know anybody to feel confident and find that inner empowerment. So hopefully you can share some advice and wisdom about that topic as we go on tonight.
Sure. Do my
Great.
best and hope it helps.
Yeah, great. And sorry, I wanted to welcome all of our viewers. So if you're watching tonight, please say hello. And if you have any questions or comments, please add those to the comment section, and we'll bring them up as we go through tonight's live stream. So I see one viewer already, Abdullah. Good evening, Abdullah. Nice to see you
Hi,
again.
Abdullah.
Yeah. And I hope you're doing very well this evening, Abdullah. Great. So I have some questions for you, Ifeoma. So we already covered the first one. Tell us about yourself. We did also talk about your settlement journey, so I don't think we need to discuss that further unless you have anything else to add. But I have a question, sort of what was unexpected for you when you came to Canada? Maybe things weren't as you pictured in your head. What were some of the surprising things about getting settled here in Canada?
I'll tell you, Ian, the truth was if you come into Canada from the part of the world that I came from, I'm originally from Nigeria. So if you live in Nigeria, but I am widely traveled though before I came to Canada. And one time I was in the school in the US. So I totally get it, but I haven't been to Canada before. So going to Canada, getting the immigrant visa to come to Canada was like, oh yeah, Canada is next to the US. It's going to be amazing. Jobs everywhere. You just get into the system, capitalist economy. I didn't know it wasn't what it was, right? I remember the first few weeks, I kept asking myself, isn't this Canada? So you paint this big, massive picture of things just working out. You landing at the airport and everything just automatically changes. And with that mindset, I'm just going to integrate, get to know the people, do my own thing, just run with it, right? And then things are a lot better these days because a lot more immigrants are coming in and they're settling in, quicker than we did back in 2016. So I'm going to talk about my experience settling in. And back in 2016, it wasn't quite easy. So I had huge expectation of coming in, finding a job, buying a house in 1 month.
Right.
And, after it was Canada, right?
I hear that a lot. Like, oh, I'm going to arrive. I'm going to learn English. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to get a car.
Yeah,
all within 6 months. Right?
Exactly. You're thinking about it and your head, you're like, oh, yeah, after I'm going to Canada. And then you land the shores of Canada and then reality sinks in. And then the culture shock begins to come to you. And for somebody like me who came in with three kids that have different lifestyle, different understanding, they have to. So it's not just me trying to get in, it's you trying to make the kids, understand where they are, fit into the system and adjust, so looking for schools and all that. But most importantly, because we came in during the the summer. So we actually came in June. So schools were almost on vacation. So the kids were at home. It wasn't so much a worry with the kids to get them in school. The weather was nice. So that gave me the opportunity to actually get out. But it was in that getting out to look for a job. My husband actually didn't settle in with me, right? He was with us for 3 weeks and he went back to his job because we needed to be sure that this was the life we wanted before we quit everything. So he had to go back and I was left alone with the kids. And that was for another 1 year
Wow.
before he eventually made up his mind to leave his job and come into Canada. So unexpectedly for me, I thought it was going to be like as easy as Canada. Jobs are everywhere. It's the Western world. You just get in there, you just put in your resume, you get a job.
So
No.
maybe where do you think you got that impression that, there are jobs everywhere and it's going to be super easy? So do you think the government gave you that impression, or your friends, or something?
Yes. To be very honest, I remember saying to a friend of mine back in June of 2016 that I think the government knew we were coming, but the people didn't know we were coming. That was what it felt like. Because with your skills, with our skills, we come in with the education, the background you have, with everything that we have to prove that we have, because it was highly federal, what is it called? Skilled workers program,
Skilled
right?
worker
So we're
stream, yeah.
like highly skilled, and it's based on that skill that you are, kind of asked to come in and you're given the permanent residency. But then you come in here, the first questions, I think a few places that I even got the opportunity to have an interview, what they disqualified me was Canadian experience. And I remember that one interview asking the person that asked me, what's your do you have Canadian experience? Like, did you not hear I arrived here 2 weeks ago? I was so mad. And I'm like, I just told you I came here 2 weeks ago. Where would I have gotten that experience from? So I felt like it was systematic at that time to just disqualify us for not having Canadian experience. And for me, that was what led me to starting my own business 2 months after I arrived here, because I couldn't deal with that any longer. So it was one expectation that I had, living living everything, like go here. I was bragging about settling really quickly, finding a good job. Event planning isn't hard, communication isn't hard. You can fit in like really quick and get yourself settled. And then you write like 100 application and you get 2 interviews, and then you're not qualified because you don't have Canadian experience. And even when I started my business, so I came in June, by August I had registered Matella Event Concept, and I think it started out of frustration, for writing so many applications and not getting anywhere. And I decided, you know what, if you're not going to give me something to do, I'm not just going to sit and whine. I'm just going to have to do something for myself. And I started out and I think that was the best decision that I took as a newcomer then. And with the help of the resources that are available, like iSans, to be very honest, they would go, they did their best to help, but if you're like me, you wanted things to happen like this. I didn't want too many stories because back in my head, it's Canada, right? It should be quick. So and that was it. I think that was the main expectation. As per the weather, yes, we did know, like, oh yeah, it's cold Canada. And like I said, I've traveled. So I've been out in Europe, in the US. I've seen what the weather is like. But not until I experienced Canadian winter that I went like, oh no, there are colds and there are colds. There are cold weather and there are cold weather. I think the cold weather in Canada is different. So yeah, a lot to, kind of juggle with. But I thank God we made it this far, and here we are today.
Great. So how long would you say it took you to feel settled, that, Halifax and Nova Scotia was your new home? So was it months or years, or what would you say?
For me, I would say it was months. And I say this with, a lot of regard and respect for, because for the work that I put in, to be very honest, because I was left with 3 kids all by myself. My husband went back. And even though he was back in Nigeria with his job, he was more discouraged than I was.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I think a lot of it, I'm like, naturally self-motivated. So I try to find reason purpose, why. And I think that drives me a lot. So what kept me going and what really triggered my success earlier on was the fact of the asking myself the reason, why did I even come in the first place? So I didn't focus so much on the concerns that I have. There's no job, things aren't working the way I expected them. I moved my attention to what I could influence. What can I change? What can I use my skill? What can I do? So every day I'm thinking, what can I do for myself? How can I change this thing? Okay, if it's not what I expected, am I just going to sit and whine? I have to make it work, because I kept reminding myself the reason why I left to come to Canada in the first place. And it pushed me. So within months, like I said, I started my business 2 months. Like, not so many people do that. 2 months, barely 2 months after I arrived to Canada, I had my company registered and I was going about. I had cards printed, I had flyers, and I was going about organizations because I did corporate events, telling them that I could do their events, and they would tell me to send pictures of events that I had done in Canada. I'm like, you were crazy. Like, I would say that in my mind, you were crazy. I just came here 2 months ago, or less than that, and you're asking me to show you events. So at a point, by the third month, I had met a friend who gave me the idea of, you know what, why don't you go? You can do this. So why don't you go to some of these event places? Tell them you're new, you have this experience, you've been doing this. This is your job, but these people need proof. Why don't you go set up like you have an event? Take pictures, and wherever you go, they say, show us Canadian experience. You show them the pictures, and it works.
Yeah.
so,
Great.
so really quickly, and beyond that was being able to volunteer. So I started looking for every opportunity to volunteer for any event that is happening that I hear about. Once I hear about it, I'm asking, can I volunteer? So that gave me that opportunity to have that experience that they were asking about. So by the next month, I had multiple experiences because I was everywhere at every event volunteering. So each place I was taking picture. I was making sure I had my badge. I took pictures with it. I got involved with the setting. I made sure I did. So everywhere I go, you ask me what experience, I will lay like 10. Like, I did this, I did this, I did that. So it pretty much like quickly within months. By the end of 2016, I was already shortlisted for an award.
Wow. That's
yes.
amazing. Yeah. So you brought up a lot of great points. So you were talking about your attitude was very important, volunteering, getting out there and meeting people, networking was really important. So thank you for sharing all of those points, because I think they're very valid, and I think a lot of people could learn from that story. Yeah. Great. Sorry, I just want to mention a couple comments here. So we have a couple other people watching. So Jalile says, hi, good evening, and thanks.
Hi.
So, hi, Jalile. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Wenya says, good evening. Hi, Wenya. Thank you for joining tonight.
Hi, Wenya.
Yeah. Great. So anybody else you want to say hi? If you have a question for Ifeoma or myself, just let us know. So let's talk a little bit more about empowerment, because some of our listeners might not know exactly what that means. And I have to admit that I don't know much about this topic. So what is empowerment, and why is it important to talk about this?
Empowerment for me is totally different from what the dictionary meaning of empowerment is. So when I set out to start the Network for the Empowerment of Women, it stemmed up from the facts. Like I said, part of my journey settling in, I started that organization in 2018, and empowerment was the key factor in starting the Network for the Empowerment of Women. And why was that? It was because of the journey that I had in settling in. A lot of people that I met when I first came in 2016, I realized some of them left. They couldn't actually deal with it. Some moved out of the province because, oh no, I can't deal with Nova Scotia anymore. It's laid back. I'm heading to Ontario. That's where it's happening. So there were a lot of reasons that people didn't feel like they could survive here. Which part of those things I had to, but what actually kept me going was discovering myself, being very self-aware, and using what I have in me to push me further than where to push me further that from where I was to where I wanted to be. So for me, that's what empowerment is realizing. I usually say it's not asking for power. It's not saying, hey, I'm not really enough, or I don't have it all, so I need a kind of a booster from the outside to push me to where I'm going. No, for me, the way I define empowerment in everywhere that I have talked about empowerment is realizing the power that is in it, the power that is already existing in you, being fully self aware of who you are, being purposefully aware, and having that understanding of your purpose, of what you want to achieve, and then harnessing and tapping into that innate ability that you have and using that to achieve what you want to achieve. So in a nutshell, I would say that empowerment is realizing who you are, realizing your purpose, and using those abilities that you have in you to achieve that purpose, to take yourself to where you want to be. Once you are somebody who can get to your goals, who can achieve, who can grow personally, you are an empowered human being, because you're not waiting for things to happen to you or happen for you. You are making things happen for yourself and possibly for others.
Right.
You are an empowered person.
Amazing. Yeah, great definition. Okay, I like that. So I think we talked about the next question I had. So why is it important? Of course, it's important to be empowered to be able to reach your goals. Can you give some advice to people? So I know your organization is called the Network for the Empowerment of Women, but can you give some general advice to everybody about how they can be more empowered?
Yes, and I did mention that while I was trying to define empowerment. It starts with self-awareness. Before you can succeed, before I can do what I'm doing today, it's because I am uniquely self-aware. I understand who I am. I understand what my desires, what my purpose, what my goals are. I am fully aware of what I can do or what my limitations are. So it starts with being self aware. Take that as a spot. And most people aren't self aware. And when you are not self aware, that is when you look for validation. Before you step, you're looking, fear becomes the first thing that comes, right before you think about an idea. And there's that voice that lives in your head. No, don't say it. They're going to laugh at me. How are they going to take it? That is lack of self-awareness. When you are self-aware, you are bold. You know what I usually tell myself when I'm in a room, and I've been in rooms where with like very highly placed people. And the thing I tell myself, the worst is I make a mistake, I get corrected. That is not a feeling. And I think people who know me say that's a superpower. And it's helped me because you know what? I hardly do make the mistakes, because even that thing your head is telling you, they're going to laugh at you. At times it's what you say and everybody goes, oh, why didn't I even think about that? Mm-hmm. So it's in being self-aware, knowing that you have it in you. You are able to say that and you can defend what you say. You're not looking for validation from outside. Do you know this? You raise your hand, you put it down, you raise your hand. You're not self-aware. So becoming self-aware, very important. I cannot overemphasize that. And that is even understanding that even the person that I'm speaking to didn't become a professional overnight. That at every point in time, that professional was an amateur at one point before that person becomes a professional. So if I'm going to tread on this road, if I'm going to walk this path, I have to realize that I don't have to start as a professional. I have to start and improve myself every day. So that is I don't need your validation. If I make a mistake today, it's not failure for me. Mistake is a stepping stone. I will improve. So if I make the mistake today, I learn from it, I'm not going to make it tomorrow. So being fully self-aware. Number 2, intentionality. You would have to be intentional about whatever you do. It is not about what's happening around me as much as it matters, the outside influence, but influence that is most important is the one that comes from the inside. Because what I see with the outside influences, you're more focusing, like I said, you focus more on concerns, what's happening around us. It takes you away from what you can influence. Even though that thing is happening, you're looking inward and saying, how can I influence this situation to my own advantage? How can I use what's going on to my own advantage? And in recent time, when I speak, the example that I give is, think about it. COVID hit the entire world. So many of us went into our homes whining and complaining about lockdown and social distancing and how we're not going to wear a mask. Why some people are innovating, developing programs that are taking us, and they're making millions out of the situation. So that is one, like in the time we live in, that we have to learn. How do we take what's happening, even though it's bad? How can I influence it? And you know what some of us still do? Sit down and criticize those who are innovative in this condition that we live in right now in the pandemic. That's a big problem for somebody who wants to move forward, who wants to stay empowered. How can you not acknowledge even the good within, like, you get what I mean? It's like you have a basket of rotten apples and there's one good apple in the middle, and it doesn't, like, all you talk about is that one good apple that is like, geez, think about it. So instead of sitting down and whining about a situation, ask yourself, how can I actually turn this around for good? At least for me and my family and maybe my community. Yeah. That's what most people have done with this situation. You can time it as, they made money out of COVID. Hey, but if they did not create, e.g., the platforms that we use now, if they did not think about it, how can they re-innovate it and make it something that works? Maybe you and I will even be worse than we are, trapped in our rooms without even being able to do anything. But right now, as an event management company, all my events has moved online. And I'm even having fun. I work from home. Banking we do from home right now. As an advisor with the bank, I do my business advising from home. So that is innovation. What triggered it? The bank never knew that we could send financial advisors home to go stay in there and work from the comfort, but see what COVID has caused. And so many of us don't want to go back to work. We want to sit at home because there's a lot that we save. There is a lot that works for us. So that is in every bad situation, instead of sitting down and whining, be intentional about what you want to do. And being intentional is realizing what you've got in you. And that's why I tell you that I don't define empowerment as looking outward. It's looking inward. Because we all have it. The problem is not everyone finds it. And the best that we can do for ourselves is finding it. If you're unable to find it, you can live through this life. Success, yes, you may have it. But who knows? Maybe you could have more success if you actually are well self-aware, are well aware of yourself, and you're intentional about every step that you make. So self-awareness, being very intentional about everything, and then living on purpose. You don't just do it. You must define what your whys are. What are your reasons for doing whatever you do? If you can't find the why, the best way I ask the question is, what is that thing that you would do today and continually do if you know you would never fail at it? Because that's who we are. We want to find our comfort zone, sit there, so that we make no mistakes. We are infallible, no problems, we're doing good. If you know that thing that won't be on that list that you're going to write, when I ask you to write what you know you would do if you know you wouldn't fail? Those are the things that are your comforts. You know you can't fail while doing it. Then let's focus on the things that you are afraid to do. So you must get rid of fear for you to begin to live on purpose. What are your whys? It doesn't matter how steep the hill is. I'm going to reach my purpose because this is why I exist. And if I can find my purpose, I find success. So I'm going to stop at those three.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I was taking notes as you were speaking. I think, yeah, you covered some really great points. Why do you think it is that, maybe you touched on this a little bit, but why don't most people live an empowered life? Like, what's holding us back? Is it fear of failure, fear of rejection, not knowing ourselves? What's the main thing holding most people back?
Honestly, the number one thing holding people back is fear. Fear, uncertainty, fear of the future. I don't know what it's going to be. But the truth of the matter is you never know. If you were sure, nobody would ever be in a situation where you have to repeat something. If you know that when you apply for that job, you're not going to be called, you won't apply for it. So we never know. Yeah. If you are sure, you know what? I used to say, if you are sure that you sleep today and tomorrow, this is what tomorrow is going to be. Like sure as hell that this is what it's going to be. You wouldn't fall asleep the day that you lose someone because you want to stay awake, right? Mm-hmm. I lost my dad recently, and that was when I asked myself this question. So you can never be sure. Like I spoke to him the day before. So if I knew, I felt like I was like beating myself. Why did I even get over the phone? Maybe I could have kept him on the phone. If I had kept him on the phone all day long through the night, maybe he wouldn't have passed the next day, right? Mm-hmm. The next morning before he passed, right? Mm-hmm. We're not sure. And that is the fear that keeps people. That is the most thing that keeps people from going forward. The fear. Of judgment, of failure, of I don't know if I will succeed. And the one that gets to me is, what will people say? People will always say something. It doesn't matter what they say. Good or bad, they'll say something. So fear is the main cause of people not living their life to the fullest. And it's really disheartening because people go through life fearing. And it starts with not understanding that fear isn't the end of the journey. Fear is just a stepping stone. It's just kind of a clear path, clearing the path for you to move forward. So for us to change that mindset, if you are a fearful person, you need a shift in paradigm. You need a shift in thinking, in your mindset. You need to begin to see fear and failure as a stepping stone to where you're going. Think about it like a little kid, like I remember raising my own 3 kids as toddlers and watching them learn to walk. See, a baby I learned from raising my own 3 children. The first time you want them to stand, even as adults, will be, encourage them, motivate them, clap for them. You want to encourage them to make the first, stand on their feet and not feel afraid. What keeps them is fear. Because somehow in their head, they're like, I don't want to fall. Even when you're going to catch them, they don't want to, they are shaking. But you notice that the day this child forgets and it's not paying attention. That's why at times we clap, we try to distract them. We get them distracted from that fear. They could stand for like seconds. And you'll be like, hey, and you realize that once they acknowledge I'm standing, they fall.
Right.
That's how it happens. That's what happens to us. We can take that analogy. Like I experienced it through 3 of my kids. When and even children that I see these days, when they are not in that moment of fear, they can jump from top, but once they realize the depth of where they're going, that's when they don't, know. So it happens to us. We put fear in the front seats. It is very, very wrong to do. Fear is good to bring along with you on the journey. On every journey, I'm not saying you don't have to be afraid, but what I'm saying is do it afraid anyways. Mm-hmm. Bring fear with you while on that journey. It's acceptable. It is okay. What is not okay is letting fear be the driver, giving fear the driver's seat and sitting by the side of fear. You don't want fear to be what is driving or giving fear the map to where you're to your destination. You're definitely not going to get to that destination. For me, fear I bring along with me on every journey. But you know where I put fear? Right in my trunk.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't pop his head except I let it. So it's there. But you know what? I kind of kill it. I give it a position where it should be. Come along with me, Mr. Fear. But where your position is in my trunk because I'm going to drive this vehicle. I'm going to take this ride and I'm going to get me to my destination, even though you're with me. So that is it. If you are empowered, you will bring fear with you, but fear wouldn't stop you because you will be riding fear in the trunk.
I like that. Yeah. I like how you didn't say, just ignore fear, get rid of fear, but it's going to be there. Fear is natural. We all have fear, but, you're in control and fear is not what's driving you. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I want to say I'm sorry to hear about your father. My condolences. That must have been very hard for you, especially, if you're here and he was overseas. So
yeah, and I couldn't go at the time. Yeah,
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, we only have about 5 minutes left or so, and I think you covered most of the questions that I had prepared. So if anybody is watching, please add your questions. We still have a few minutes left to cover that. So what if somebody wants to reach out to you? How can they get in contact with you? And can you tell us a little bit more if somebody is interested in joining the Network for the Empowerment of Women? What types of things do you do with that network? Do you have workshops or groups or coaching events or what?
Yes, we do. As a certified coach, I do have coaching events, individual and group coaching. I've done a lot of group coaching for undergrads. I do executive coaching for managers. Actually, this Saturday, we're having a mastermind, and that will be the first mastermind that I'm hosting. And the mastermind is bringing together a group of professionals in their own capacity, kind of like thinkers, and exploring some topics of personal development and personal growth. So that the very first one that I'll be doing is this Saturday. I think it's sold out already. And yeah, so what we do with the Network for the Empowerment of Women is a whole lot of things. We do host conferences, like you said, workshops and seminar skill acquisition beyond that, personal training, personal development and training. And to reach the Network for the Empowerment of Women is through our website, www.empowerment-women.com. And we do have membership. We have individual membership and business membership. So business membership is usually for those who have their own business. They join us as business membership. It gives you access to our network. It gives you access to the connections that we have. Recently, I think that was in February of this year, we hosted our very first business expo, and it was amazing. It was online. It was amazing. A lot of women that are involved with us. It drew women from across Canada and even beyond. And every year we host 3 years in a row now. We started 2018 and 2019, 2020 and 2021. We've hosted Powerful International Women's Day, and we usually bring women from across, not just Canada, Africa, the UK and the US. And recently, I think we had women who joined our network from Spain. It was amazing to know that they joined us all the way from Barcelona, Spain, and there were about 3 women. So our work is going places. We're happy that we're growing into a big international organization, and that is what it's meant to be. We have Toronto chapter at the moment, and we're launching our Dallas chapter with our Empowerment Summit coming up on July 17th. So such summits bring in women who have walked their talk. So they share their stories and we can learn from them. They share techniques and tips on how they succeeded. And it's usually amazing because where you think you are or what you think you're passing through and you feel alone in it, it's usually amazing to hear women in top leadership position telling you stories of how they've passed through that same journey and how they conquered. So it's usually very inspiring. And we have, like I said, I do individual coaching as well. So we do mentorship and we do networking events. I know we haven't been able to network in person since COVID, but we're looking forward, just like every other person, to be able to have that opportunity. But even before that, we have switched everything we do online. So we try as much as possible to stay connected. Sharing knowledge is something that I value so much. So if there's something I know, I want to get it out there. I want people to benefit from it, and especially women. I'm a strong advocate of gender equality. And we try to connect women to resources that are available, not just within Canada but outside of Canada. We have the Center for Gender Studies and Women Development back in Africa. One of them, we've had 2 countries now reach out to us to develop programs for their women. So the women in our network are not just connecting with women in Canada, they're connecting with women across the board. And that is really amazing. That's how we're going. So those are benefits of being a member. You don't have to be a member to attend any of our events. If you have an event that's striking to you and you just want to do a one-off, that's really, you're welcome. You can attend that event and that's totally okay. And if you find it valuable to be a member, a business member, if you have a business, is usually amazing because every of our events, our business members have the opportunity to showcase their businesses and make sales if they have to. So pretty much. And then our magazine, the WSTAR magazine, it used to be the Rise and Lead. Excuse me. Used to be the Rise and Lead Women's Magazine, but this 1-year anniversary, this International Women's Day, we actually rebranded it to WSTAR Magazine. WSTAR being Women of Strength, Tenacity, Audacity, and Resilience. And it's just all that has happened within the first 1 year when we started. And we were having a meeting one day and I said to my team, you know what, women are not just beginning to rise and lead. I think we're reading already. We are showcasing the power, the tenacity, the resilience that women have. And Kamala Harris coming into the White House as vice president, I'm like, we are already rising, we are shattering. And I don't think this name does us justice. We need to switch it to who we are. So, and that is what the magazine does, is sharing stories of women, resilient women, unsung heroes, women who are not known, and bringing them to the forefront, professional women. Our next edition is coming out next month. It's a quarterly magazine, and it's downloadable from our website. It's free. We don't want anybody not to share in that story because, I can't afford it. So it's free. It's available online in PDF format. Since COVID, we couldn't publish to share, so we went fully digital. So it's available online through our website /magazine. So www.empowerment-women.com/magazine. And you can download the magazine and read previous editions and connect. You can advertise through our magazine. If you have a business, you can reach out to us if you want to submit an article, if you want us to do a profile on you, reach out to me through our website. And if you want to reach out, is info@empowerment-women.com, or my first name, Ifeoma@empowerment-women.com, and it will come to us.
So I have that email address, your personal one. That's wonderful. So I think we are out of time, and I want to respect your time and all of our viewers' time. So thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, your experience. I learned a lot personally, and I hope our listeners did too.
Thank you so much for having me, Ian. I really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking with you again sometime in the future. And I wish you the best success and continued success here in Canada. And I think you are a real inspiration to, not only newcomers, but everybody, especially women, because you're strong and you've accomplished so much in such a short time. And I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week with another Settle in Canada live stream. So good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Good night.